Now that Super Tuesday is over, we felt that it was important to do a postmortem, but also think of what the strategy should be moving forward for progressives, particularly for Bernie Sanders, who still has a very good shot at winning the Democratic nomination. So for all of you out there who are discouraged today, get over it quickly, because now is the time to fight and now is the time to do so aggressively. First, let's go over what the results of last night were. First off, we need to know what the total delegate count looks like thus far in the race. And Biden does have the lead. He is the front runner, but the lead isn't really that big. So he has 513 of the pledged delegates so far. Bernie comes in at second with 461, and then Warren comes in at third with 47. Now there have been some rumors, some whispers that Warren could be dropping out soon. We'll see how that plays out, but for now she's still in the race.
Okay, I gotta jump in on that delegate count. So first, the usual establishment Democrat and mainstream media hypocrisy. When Bernie Sanders had the lead after the first 3 states, after the first 4 states, they were like, no, not a front runner, no way, no, not, okay, we really call him a front, no, right? The minute Biden takes the lead, a tiny lead, as you just saw there in the delegate count, they have to go all the way to 1,991. So it's anybody's ballgame. We got Florida, Michigan, New York, so many things coming up, right? They're like, nope, that's it. I think Bernie should drop out. I mean, why is he extending this? He has no road to winning. Are you serious? And they say it with a straight face. That's why I'm done with the mainstream media. I mean, I'll go on and I'll talk to them, but we have to call them the brazen hypocrites that they are.
So you know how I feel about the mainstream media. I have very similar feelings. However, I think that it's important to give credit where credit is due. So while MSNBC has its regular anti-Bernie programming, and while people like James Carville are urging everyone in the Democratic race to drop out, including Bernie Sanders, of course, I was just listening to the New York Times podcast, The Daily, and they were really honest. They're like, no, Bernie still has a really good shot at winning this.
Yeah, okay, well then let me go further. Okay, yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that, because unlike the mainstream media, we're fair. We give you what they do right and wrong. So what is this talk of, does Bernie have a chance? Here, put up the delegate count again. It's nearly tied. They have to get to 1,991. All Bernie has to do is win one more state and he's back in the lead. What are you guys talking about? Like, they're making it sound like Bernie's at like Klobuchar level at 7 or something. And by the way, another important point about that is all this talk of like a brokered convention. All of a sudden, Biden takes the lead. No more talk of brokered convention. Now, is anybody asking on TV? Well, I mean, if Biden's goes in with a lead, but he doesn't have 50%, I guess we should probably find a way to give it to Bernie. No, that talk has ended immediately. Second of all, what brokered convention? Put up the graphic one more time. There's only 2 people in this race. Warren is barely still in the race because she's talking to staff about maybe dropping out. She is 47. None of them are going to have any delegates. A brokered convention happens when there are not 2 major candidates, when there's a whole bunch of candidates and that guy got 37, the other one got 38, and the other one got 12 stuff. No, the other candidates, delegates are de minimis. They won't be relevant unless it's razor thin. So no, we got a 2-person race. It's anybody's ball game. Last thing on that. Hey, mainstream media, we love to do things ahead of time. You love to be hypocrites. So if Bernie retakes the lead, and mainly to establishment Democrats, James Carville and all those guys, I'm talking to you. If Bernie retakes the lead, will you have the same position? Will you say, well, now that Bernie's the front runner, Biden should drop out?
We all know what the answer is, right? Remember, these are not winner-take-all races. So even if the majority of voters in any given state prefer Joe Biden over Bernie, the fact of the matter is Bernie will still win delegates in that state. So let's get to some of those specifics. So let's start with the states that Joe Biden did win: Alabama, Arkansas, Maine, Massachusetts, Minnesota, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, Virginia. It's a lot of states, right?
It is, and that's why he's in the back of the ballgame. And again, unlike the rest of the media, we're super fair. The minute Joe Biden started winning states that we didn't expect, we're like, oh, he's having a great night. This is now a two-person race. By the end of the night, we were saying, no, Biden won Super Tuesday. He's now in the lead. Let's keep it real, right? Because we can do math. And Emma reported that from Bernie's headquarters. We all universally agreed because again, it's not complicated. But I gotta say one thing about Joe Biden's so-called strength. Some of those states are very relevant. Some will be blue no matter what, like Massachusetts. And some are more toss-ups, like Virginia, and very important in the general election. But most of them are in the South. And they're like, Joe Biden's strength's in Alabama, so I think maybe he could beat Trump in Alabama? No.
Or Arkansas.
No, so Minnesota's relevant too. So keep it real, it's across the board. But most of those states are states that Joe Biden will have absolutely 0% chance of winning in the general election.
Correct. When it comes to the states that Bernie Sanders won, California, of course, is a huge state to win. And luckily, Bernie Sanders did win that state. Then you have Colorado, Utah, and Vermont.
I mean, look, now Bernie wins the largest state in the union. He does it by a good margin. And all the people who said Bernie Sanders had no chance, laughed at him, mocked him, etc., for the entirety of this campaign and the one before, he wins California, and they're like, he didn't win it by enough. He didn't win it by enough. That's not true. Okay, you have nothing but excuses. We're fair about how Biden had a great night last night. Is definitely back in it. We got a two-person race. Are they equally fair? Sometimes, like Anna pointed out, the New York Times did a good job with the Daily, and oftentimes not.
So let's go to a breakdown of each individual state just to show you how much they won. Now, again, in Alabama, Joe Biden did win in that state. He had 63.37%. Now, that was a huge lead over Bernie Sanders. So in Alabama, Bernie unfortunately received 16.81%. But to Cenk's point, Alabama is a state in the general election that will go to Trump.
Yeah, so I'll go through the rest of them real quick.
Sure.
So Alabama, easy win for Biden, congrats to him, but also easy win for the Republicans in general. Arkansas, same exact thing, not as big a margin, but still a big margin. 40-22 basically for Biden. California, Bernie wins 33.6 to 22.7, so that's a healthy 11-point win in the biggest state, which means that is a lot more delegates that you pick up. With that size of a win in that biggest state. Colorado, Bernie wins 36-23. Maine, Biden squeaks out a victory there, went back and forth all night, 34-33 basically. Massachusetts, Biden at 33.5, Bernie at 27. That one could have been closer. Now, a lot of people say, let's pause there. Elizabeth Warren, if she had dropped out and endorsed Bernie, Bernie might have won Massachusetts. I actually think that was way more relevant in 2016 because at that point, Massachusetts would have made a big difference in momentum. I think Bernie could have also maybe won Iowa, which was a squeaker in 2016. Now, if you make the argument that Bernie would have won Massachusetts if Warren had dropped out, you have to be honest and say, yeah, but Biden probably would have won a lot of states or done better in a lot of states if Bloomberg had dropped out earlier. So be fair on both sides of that. Minnesota, Biden winning a state he wasn't necessarily supposed to win a couple of days ago, but Klobuchar's endorsement made a big difference there. So 38.5 to 30. North Carolina, big win again for Biden, 43.7 to 24.5. Oklahoma, a closer contest, interestingly, but still a sizable win, 38.6 to 25.4. Tennessee, another sizable win, 41.8 to 25 for Biden. And Texas, we wanted to win Texas. Texas was important, but we didn't. Oh wait, let me do mainstream media. Now that we lost Texas, Texas has always been irrelevant. What's the big deal? I mean, it was only the third largest state in the country. Who cares? No, it was important, and Biden won it. Beto O'Rourke might have helped him there, but certainly all the momentum helped him. So 34 to 30, basically. Last couple here: Utah, Bernie wins comfortably, 34 to 17. Vermont, obviously, wins comfortably, 50 to 22. And then Virginia, also an important state, and he won big. Biden won big there by 30 points.
So I just want to make one quick comment about Utah. Remember, Utah is a state that was dealing with homelessness, especially in Salt Lake City. And they just decided to give the homeless housing with no strings attached. And the program worked. So I bring that up because in the context of this race, there's a lot of religious people living in Utah, a lot of Mormons living in Utah, but they also understand that some of the progressive policies do in fact work. They had the privilege to experience them firsthand. So I think that's the reason why you see such a huge margin for Bernie in Utah.
Yeah, and finally, guys, now we got trench warfare, two major candidates just like 2016, and we're gonna go state to state to state to state, okay? So next Tuesday, here we go again. Don't miss a minute of it. We're gonna do it right here on TYT. Idaho, Michigan, which is gigantic, Mississippi, Missouri, really important, North Dakota, the state of Washington. The state of Washington is a large state. Bernie has nice leads in the West normally. We'll see what kind of momentum they have going into March 10th. And then next Tuesday after that, March 17th, top of the morning to you, St. Patty's Day. We're gonna do Arizona, Florida, Illinois, Ohio. Gigantic. This race is nowhere near over. 2 enormous weeks left to go here, and then many more. But those 2 weeks are really important. Last thing on it, debates. Now we might have mano a mano, likely, Bernie versus Biden. Can Biden finish a debate?
Well, you know how I feel about Biden's debate performance, and it has nothing to do, well, it has a lot to do with substance, but it has more to do with his inability to speak coherently, right? So I think the big question is, will there be a debate that's compelling enough to make an impact by March 17th, right?
Yeah, so we're gonna have to see. And look, the debates sometimes make a giant difference. When Elizabeth Warren eviscerated Mike Bloomberg, he lost his momentum in all those states, and now he's dropped out. So remember, the presidential race has more free media than anything else in the world. So even Bloomberg, with his whole fortune, having spent $500 million on ads, couldn't buy the race because the debates were so important. So now Bernie versus Biden, the whole country's gonna watch those debates. And if Biden struggles to speak in complete sentences, it's going to be a real issue. And I guarantee you that the online media is not going to let it go, no matter how much the mainstream media covers up for Biden. Those are not gaffes. Those are significant issues with his mental faculties. That's just a fact. And Trump will eviscerate him on that stuff in the general election. So let's go, game on. Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.